General Hospital spoilers reveal that Valentin's departure continues to leave a deep void in the hearts of those who once trusted and loved him, especially Charlotte. No one ever expected that someone who once appeared as a powerful and influential Cassadine could disappear so suddenly, leaving behind not only unanswered questions but also a series of lingering aftershocks that could explode at any moment. But the biggest shock has not yet ended. Because if Charlotte happens to uncover a horrifying truth, that Valentin is not truly a Cassadine, that everything she ever believed was a facade built on lies, that psychological earthquake will destroy the entire inner world she had built since childhood. Charlotte has always prided herself on being a Cassadine, carrying with her the honor, tradition, both the glory and the darkness of a powerful family. But as she begins to piece together the fragmented clues from Valentin's strange behavior, the odd passports, the interrupted conversations, the promises never explained, Charlotte begins to doubt. And if the truth is revealed, that Valentin might only be a pretender, hiding a past no one knows, possibly with a different name, an entirely different person, then not only will her trust be shattered, but her own identity will also be caught up in a whirlwind of suspicion. This earthquake will not just stop at personal emotions. It will spread throughout all those who were once by Valentin's side, from Anna and Laura to even enemies like Sunny and Nina. Because if Valentin is not a Cassadine, then every relationship, every decision, every benefit given to him all these years was based on a false foundation. And Charlotte, pushed to the center of this chaos, will be the one most affected. She will not only lose the image of her father, but also the sense of being part of something bigger, something rooted, something meaningful. The psychological adjustment within Charlotte will start to smolder and grow stronger. She might resist, rebel, or even try to reassert herself through extreme actions. Or she might fall into a dangerous silence, where the silent wounds slowly erode her trust and lead to unpredictable consequences. All the comforting words from Anna, from Laura, from loved ones will mean nothing if the truth is, Valentin was never the person everyone thought he was. And in the swirl of brokenness, one big question will hang in the air of Port Charles. If Valentin is not a Cassadine, then who is Charlotte? Where will she go? And is there anyone strong enough to keep her before she is swallowed up by the very secrets her father worked so hard to bury? The days ahead will no longer be peaceful. Because this rift is not simply a shock, it is the beginning of a chain of events, where truth, identity, and loyalty will be tested to the limit. Valentin's true identity will finally be exposed, and this truth will strike deep into the heart of Port Charles. For many years, he had been an essential part of the Cassadine family, carrying both the glow of power and the complex shadows, a man with a charming exterior but always hiding deadly secrets. Yet, when the truth is revealed, that he has no blood relation to the Cassadine family, that all the power, fame, and influence he once held was based on a fabricated identity, all trust is swept into a whirlwind of doubt. The name Cassadine was not just a title, but a symbol of inheritance, legacy, responsibility. And now, when that name is stripped from Valentin, every action, every relationship, and every promise built around him is immediately thrown into chaos. Those who once stood by him begin to question, those who had doubted him now feel validated, and former enemies quietly sharpen their knives, waiting for the opportunity to strike. However, no one will be affected more than Charlotte. For her, Valentin was not just a father, he was her entire world, the one person who never abandoned her. The pillar for her pride in the noble bloodline she believed flowed through her veins. When Charlotte learns that the father she revered was never truly a Cassadine, a violent earthquake begins to erupt inside her. A shock that not only shatters her trust but also destroys her entire sense of identity, her past, and her very self. Charlotte had walked through the world with her head held high. She was the daughter of a Cassadine, a worthy heir to everything that family represented. But now, she must face a harsh reality. Everything she once believed was a lie, and the one who taught her to believe in it was the person she loved most. No one could have prepared Charlotte for such a profound psychological jolt. She loses her roots, her status, and her strongest emotional support. From pain to anger, from confusion to doubt. Charlotte falls into a new spiral of obsession, where all her emotions are pushed to the extreme. She begins to question everyone around her. Did Anna know? Did Laura know? How long have they been covering for him? Was their love for her real, or just a responsibility toward a nameless child? These thoughts drive Charlotte into a state of isolation, making her withdraw. Become colder, and more dangerous. The change in Charlotte is no longer subtle. She begins to react distinctly, avoiding Anna, rejecting advice from Laura, and looking at the world with suspicious, wounded eyes. She loses control of her emotions, unable to accept pity, and in this crisis, there is a risk she may start to redefine herself through extreme, even dangerous actions. No longer the strong but innocent girl, Charlotte is now a volatile center of pent-up rage, with a heart full of cracks and a mind haunted by betrayal. The truth about Valentin does not just change a father-daughter relationship. It sparks a chain reaction throughout Port Charles. The Cassadine legacy is shaken. Legal and financial interests need to be reconsidered, and especially, hostile forces like Brennan or Victor will not miss the opportunity to seize that power vacuum. Charlotte, in the meantime, becomes a vulnerable pawn but could also turn into a dangerous player if manipulated by someone. A smart, capable young woman with a broken heart and fractured trust, if left unhealed. If no one is there to guide her, she may walk the same dark path Valentin once took, this time with a deeper obsession and a stronger motive. The truth has been exposed. And now, Port Charles must face not only an identity shock but also a crazy series of changes that stem from the heart of a young girl who has lost both her father, her name, and her very essence. Who will save Charlotte? Or will she become the new darkness no one expected? A new story is unfolding, one that opens a completely different chapter, where subtle adjustments carry incredibly dangerous consequences. What seemed like small emotional or behavioral changes are actually leading down a path further away from the light, pushing the character once seen as the symbol of the future, Charlotte, into a dark and torn inner world. Since the truth about Valentin's identity was revealed, Charlotte is no longer the innocent young girl named Cassadine with pride in her family's legacy. The obsession with a false identity, with the betrayal from the father who once meant everything to her, is growing deeper, causing Charlotte to view the world with colder, harder, and more dangerous eyes. From a sense of being deprived, she begins to nurture a quiet anger, not just with Valentin, but with everyone who was complicit in maintaining that lie. And when that obsession is left unchecked, it turns into a new motivation. The desire to reclaim power, to reclaim fame, on her own terms. Charlotte is quietly changing, no longer a hurt young girl but a calculating person, preparing for something bigger, a strike aimed at the legacy she once considered sacred, the Cassadines. But this time, instead of protecting it, she wants to control it. She no longer wants to be the victim of the truth. She wants to turn that truth into a weapon, turn the pain into action, and transform herself from the one cast aside into the one who rebuilds. Redefining that legacy on her own terms. It seems there is an underlying adjustment happening in the mission Charlotte has set for herself. No longer the girl needing protection. She now wants to make decisions, to control what remains of the Cassadine name. If left unchecked, this could trigger a dangerous series of actions, even revenge, aimed at those she believes shattered her world. No one can predict how far Charlotte will go, but one thing is clear, in her eyes, there is no longer weakness, but cold determination, much like a new version of Valentin, only this time, younger, sharper, and less merciful. Port Charles is facing a new danger. Not from outside forces, but from the shattered heart of a girl learning to use darkness to survive. And if no one is perceptive enough to recognize this early, Charlotte may be the one to put an end to what remains of the Cassadine name, not to erase it, but to rebuild it on a completely different foundation, power that needs no bloodline, only control. Nicholas will return to Port Charles soon, and this time, his return will no longer be that of a man seeking redemption or a father burdened by past mistakes. He returns as a survivor of a storm, carrying with him a steely will and a clear plan to reclaim what was once taken from him. Amidst the current chaos, with the truth about Valentin not being a Cassadine revealed. Nicholas is no longer a forgotten name, he is the key to the restoration of the entire Cassadine legacy. Port Charles is still reeling from the shock that Valentin does not have Cassadine blood. The town that once believed in Valentin's powerful, sharp and charming presence is now forced to face the reality that everything he built was based on a false identity. His actions, his legacy, and even Charlotte are now all under suspicion. And when the foundation of such a powerful symbol is erased, a power vacuum immediately appears, demanding someone legitimate, wise, and cold-blooded enough to step in. Nicholas understands this better than anyone. He doesn't need to argue about the blood running through his veins. He is a true Cassadine, the grandson of Mikos, the son of Stavros, and the legitimate heir to the legacy that the family once preserved through blood and darkness. If Nicholas was once torn between good and evil, between his role as a father and an heir, now, all hesitations have been swept away by the losses, betrayals, and the rejection he once endured. This return of Nicholas is not simply a comeback. It is a declaration of war, a wordless affirmation that the Cassadine name still exists, and it will be stronger than ever under the leadership of a hand no longer trembling. He has had time to observe from afar, to understand who stands by him, who exploits trust, and who is secretly waiting for the opportunity to manipulate Charlotte and the Cassadine legacy for personal gain. And Charlotte, the girl who is spiraling into obsession and rebellion after discovering the truth about Valentin, could very well be the pivotal player in this new battle. Nicholas knows that if she continues to be hurt, if she continues to live in the shadow of lies, not only will the honor of the Cassadine name be destroyed, but the future of an entire generation will slip out of control. Nicholas cannot allow that to happen. And if Charlotte chooses to follow the dangerous path led by resentment, he is ready to intervene, with sternness, even confrontation. The changes in action and mindset that Nicholas brings in his return will place the entire town on high alert. He is no longer the man torn between emotion and duty. He is a Cassadine entering a period of personal revival, where every mistake becomes the foundation to build a new empire. And in that empire, there is no room for imposters, no room for lies cloaked in familial love. The greatest shock Port Charles will soon face is, Nicholas is not returning for reconciliation, but to reclaim. To reclaim trust, position, honor, and everything he once lost to others. And in the darkness of untold secrets, Nicholas will be the only one capable of clearing it all, or making Port Charles enter an era where the Cassadine ghost rises once again, stronger and unstoppable. The power game has changed. Valentin has fallen from the throne with the very truth he kept hidden. Now, Nicholas is not only ready to step up, he has been waiting for this moment for a long time. A new earthquake is spreading across Port Charles, as Valentin's mysterious father, a name never clearly mentioned in public records, a ghost of the past once thought buried, unexpectedly returns. No one could have prepared for that moment when a stranger, with an air of authority and coldness, steps into the town and claims to be Valentin's biological father. For those who knew Valentin as an unofficial Cassadine, this is not just a shock, it is the final piece in the blurry puzzle of his true identity. This father's return does not come quietly. He brings with him a different energy, a clear vision, and most importantly, a well-calculated plan to reclaim the position he believes was stolen, not for himself, but for his granddaughter, Charlotte. In his eyes, Valentin has failed. He is too weak, too emotional, too influenced by the moral standards that a true Cassadine should not carry. And so, he chooses to bypass his son, and place all his ambition, hope, and power in the hands of the next generation, Charlotte. In the midst of a crisis after discovering that Valentin is not a legitimate Cassadine, is easily swept into promises of restoring the legacy, reclaiming what is rightfully hers, and rewriting the family history. Her grandfather is not only a stranger with power, but also a new symbol of leadership, of the existence of an ancient name that the town once feared, Cassadine. And Charlotte, with wounds yet to heal and simmering anger from being deceived, begins to listen, absorb, and eventually trust. The plans he sets out for Charlotte are not necessarily crimes in the traditional sense, but they are mind games, psychological manipulation, and a disruption of the current order. Small actions suggested, information directed, clever steps planted into the mind of a bright, sensitive girl who is confused, all are part of a covert training process. Designed to turn Charlotte into the new Cassadine, an heir who doesn't need legitimate blood, only real power. And the scariest part is, Charlotte begins to like that feeling. She likes the feeling of being trusted, being given power, being seen as someone capable of determining the future of a legendary name. The hurt inside her is covered by the mask of power, and if no one pulls her out of that vortex in time, she will continue, step by step, down the dark path her grandfather has already laid out for her. Valentin now not only faces the truth that he never belonged to the Cassadine family, but also another nightmare. His daughter is being taken from him, not physically, but mentally, in essence. The bond between father and daughter, already shaken by lies, now risks being severed entirely by a skilled and obsessive hand, her grandfather, playing a long game with all the necessary coldness. The new shift in the Cassadine power structure no longer comes from the older figures like Nicholas or Victor, but from an unexpected character, a young girl slowly stepping into the role of the one who holds the power, guided by someone who had once hidden in the shadows. This not only places Charlotte on a dangerous journey but also threatens to pull in other characters like Anna, Laura, Spencer, and even those who thought they had escaped the influence of the Cassadines. Port Charles is facing a new wave of Cassadine influence, not from bloodlines, but from manipulation. The nurturing of warped ideas and ambitions. And if no one stops Charlotte, or makes her see the truth, this inheritance storm will be unlike any battle before. It will be colder, smarter, and will begin from the wounded heart of a girl who once believed that identity is everything, and power is the only way to survive.